Hi, this is Jobadiah Christensen. My gamer name is Roman's Revenge, and welcome to my channel. Today I'm talking about a Ninth Age battle report. This is the first battle report for round one of the Who Ate My Wings team tournament. This is put on by Alex Schmidt. Alex Schmidt loves chicken wings, so he named a tournament. He loves his chicken wings so much he named a tournament after them. So here we go. It's an 8-man tournament. It's a play on words. I am playing the Empire of Sonstal, and in round one, I was paired up against Aaron Casorla. My team, Reign of Anarchy, was paired up against this basically Latin and Central and South American team. I'm not gonna pronounce their name correctly, so I'm not even gonna give it to you. Anyway, I got paired up against Aaron Casola Inferno Dwarves. About the pairings, I rated this matchup as a light green, which is a small win. I think of small wins as 14 to 16. So that is what I initially ranked this as, but in the days leading up to it and the day of, I actually, as I was going back through his list, I was a little concerned and I realized I probably shouldn't have rated it that way. It probably should be a yellow. But anyway, so here we go. I'm going to talk through the battle report using screenshots. This battle was played on Universal Battler 2. That has been the thing that people have been using, especially during COVID, to play virtually with each other because we can't get together and play in actual live tournaments. Although there are some live tournaments that are beginning, so please do check those out on the Ninth Age forums. You can find lists of tournaments in person and virtual there. All right, that's enough intro. This is my new list. So if you've been following my channel in the beginning of 2021, I was playing a different list in January and February, and I decided to switch it up. I liked my previous list, and I might return to it at some point, but it does have some weaknesses that I wanted to ameliorate. So this is what I went with. My previous list I used 90 flagellants. I used 3 blocks of 30, and the flagellants were amazing. But I have tested using them with prelates, and flagellants really benefit a lot more when they have access to the prelate buffs. So I took a prelate on an altar of battle. That way he can buff multiple units at once. The prelate, I did make the general because if you look through my characters, I didn't really have anyone else to make the general. Prelate on the altar of battle. Basalt infusion because there is a lot of pyro and especially alchemy going around. So went with basalt infusion for that. Crown of autocracy because the prelate only has discipline base of 8, so that makes him discipline 9. But the downside to this is he is a 665 point model. As a general, if he gets killed, he's worth 865 points. And if you kill him because he has a crown of autocracy, that's another 200 points. He's actually worth 1,065 if you kill him. So, it's a little bit delicate making him the general, and I have to protect him. I also gave him the crown of the Wizard King, for two reasons. Number one, I just wanted, the main reason is because I had some points available. No, I'm just kidding. That's not the main reason. I had better uses for my points. The main reason is because um, I wanted to have +3 range to divination spells. So if you look further down the next entry, I have a wizard master on an arcane engine who's a master of divination. If you're familiar with divination, with the conclave rule, wizards within 12 inches of the master then gets +3 range to their divination spells. So if I keep the prelate within 12 inches of this wizard master, now all of the wizard master spells have +3 additional range. Also, I have a wizard adept, so that means I can gain +6 additional range. So there you have it. That is why I took the Crown of Wizard King. And as a nice bonus, it gives me access to a level 1 spell from a random lore, which sometimes is useful. So there you have it. All right, I already talked about my wizard. That's pretty much the same thing as I was running before. Kept the wizard. Okay, so I have. Actually, this is a little different because I was running a wizard adept on Div and a master on Pyro. I felt that there's too many things that Pyro can't really affect. Because a lot of people are running have the same idea as me, and they're running with Basalt Infusion, or the Dragon Bane Gem, or their Infernal Dwarves, and they have an innate resistance to Pyro. So instead, I went with the Master on Div and the Adept on Pyro. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. I did take a Martial BSB in this list. My previous list did not have a BSB, but because I made the Prelate the General, I was able to make the Martial the BSB, and that works out. The new thing I'm trying with this Marshal is I'm trying a shield with Witchfire Guard. All my previous lists with Marshals played with a Marshal with a great weapon, and that's partly because the miniature I own that I use as a Marshal has a great weapon, but it's very easy for me to buy a new miniature with a shield, and I decided I would try that out because a great weapon Marshal is really not that great on its own. So there you have it. Uh, okay, in the core, I have 50 heavy infantry. With Legion Standard, of course, my BSB goes in there because the BSB also is Legion Standard. So this unit has a static +7 combat res. The parent unit, heavy infantry, is something a lot of people don't run. It's just sword and board, right? There's no weapons listed there. It's sword and board, so I have parry, and as long as I keep the wizard on the arcane engine with arcane shield within 6 inches, I have distracting. So now I have a unit that's parry with distracting. So that means most people are only hitting me on fives. So they're not going to hit me very well. If they do hit me, they are going to wound me because I'm res 3 and only have a 5 up armor save. But being only hit on fives means that it reduces the amount of wounds I'm taking, and then I already have a +7 to combat res. So that's kind of nice, or it should be in theory. Alright. I do have a support unit with spears. I like spears. Enough said. Another big change. I am taking 2 units of 20 handgunners. That was the big problem. In my previous list, I used a Pyro Master for small arms fire, but there's a lot of things that were kind of resistant to Pyro because Pyro spells have AP 0 across the board. And that's a little bit of an issue. Also, people can dispel your spells, and so those clutch moments when you need to kill something with small arms fire, they'll just dispel your spells and you're not able to. With handgunners, I don't have that issue. Also, it gave me some more scoring units, so I do have 4 scoring units in here. Alright, I did switch up my artillery as well. I was previously running with 2 cannons, and I liked 2 cannons, but the issue with the cannons was that I rolled a lot of ones and twos to hit, and I wasn't hitting stuff, because I was only rolling a single die per cannon. So I decided to play the odds with statistics. Instead of only rolling 2 dice for artillery, I'm now taking 2 mortars and 2 rockets, and that actually comes up to a total of 8 dice for artillery. Hopefully, I will be hitting more. That is my general logic. On this point, this gets back to my magic. Um, with my previous list, I was relying on magic more for small arms fire, and I was relying on the cannons to take out monsters. And if I rolled a 1 or 2, the cannons just didn't hit, right? Because you have a 30% chance of missing, and I had a lot of 30% misses. Instead, I decided to take a lot more small arms fire and shooting. Light infantry, mortars, and mortars are good at that. Rockets are decent against the cowboys because there's a lot of cowboys running around where you don't actually need a cannon, right? You don't need a cannon to kill a chariot or a griffin. A rocket is just about as good as a cannon against a chariot or a griffin. And the chariots and the griffins are the more the types of cowboys you see than the things on the gigantic beasts. Okay, but I also took gets back to random magic. And I was really excited to play this because the Wizard Master has access to Unerring Strike, and the Prelate on the Altar of Battle has access to Unerring Strike. So now I have access to 2 different Unerring Strikes, which are good against those big monsters. Mortars I really like because they're what I call they're flexible. I like having flexibility in my lists. Mortars, most people think of them as they're just good at taking out rank and file, but if you do have a direct hit, you have a strength 6 AP4 D3 hit. So I'm not afraid to fire a mortar at a gigantic model because most of the time you really only need strength 6 AP4. You don't really need strength 10 AP10 against things like a dragon because you're going to wound it on 4 and then it's not going to get an armor save if the mortar does a direct hit. So there you have it. That's my logic. Job logic, Roman logic, and then I have the 2 units of flagellants. All right, that's enough about my list. Sorry for talking so much about it, but I just wanted to explain my thought process. This was my opponent's list, Inferno Dwarves. I'm not gonna really talk through it so much. I'll just talk about it as it comes up in the battle. All right, so there it is. You can look at it in more detail. All right, so scenario ended up being Spoils of War and Frontline Clash map 10. Now, I do want to have a caveat. This list I did play twice. I played 2 times in another UB tournament. Before I played this battle, I didn't record those battle reports. They went very poorly. And basically, what I learned from those other battles was I did not deploy them well. This army is a lot more difficult to deploy than my previous army, and it's taken me a little bit of time to figure out. But I think I had a pretty good deployment in this battle, and that did help. So there you have it. So, here we go. I won the rule for sides, and I picked the top. I have played this map recently. The first time I played this army, actually, I played it a couple weeks ago, and when I won the rule for sides that time, I picked the bottom because typically, as soon as I see a hill, I say, okay, that's good for my shooting. I'm going to take the side with the hill. Well, the problem with this map and with a lot of the maps, the base maps that are made, the hill is too far forwards, right, for artillery and shooting. Realistically, I would like to have a hill in the back, touching the back of the board, and that's where I want to put my artillery as a general. Um, as a general, I would never pick actually to fight in this exact location. I would try to, force the battle to be a little bit farther forward so that the hill would be at the back of my lines for artillery. But for some reason, whoever made the UB maps, or actually the ninth age maps in general from the forums, they didn't design them that way. So there you have it. I decided to take the top this time. He dropped 1 unit. Okay, I'm going to talk through these units briefly. So going from, let's just call, well, this is from left to right. So on the left, he has his Taruk enforcers. Let me double check. One more thing I wanted to mention before this battle to help my play. I actually went through his list and I went through the Inferno Dwarfs book because I'm still not super familiar with the book, and I wrote out a note card. I wrote out every single entry that he had in his list, and I wrote out their basic stats. Okay, that way I wouldn't have to reference the book continually. I could just quick look at my note card. So that's a tip from me to do. If you're unfamiliar with an army you're playing against, just if you have the opportunity to see the list ahead of time, take a note card, write out some quick stats about each of the opponents. Things like what the offense defense is, what the res is, what the opponent's armor is, what the opponent's strength is, what the opponent's attacks are, what the opponent's weapon choices are, and that way in the middle of the battle you can quick look at your note card and make a quick to snap decision. So that's what I did. Anyway, all right. Those are Taruk enforcers because they have the blunderbusses. Okay, blunderbusses with slaves behind them. Citadel guard here. This was his first drop in red. Okay, so before I got sidelined, he dropped Citadel guard. He just put 1 unit down, and then he let me put a unit down. And I decided that I was going to drop all and go first. I was hoping, basically, my mortars and rockets outrange what he has, and I felt that if I deployed first, I could maybe start to do some damage on him before he even did any on me. So there you have it. Anyway, he's got slaves, more Citadel Guard to the right of them. Behind the Citadel Guard, here on the right by the ruins, was his vassal levy unit with spears and bows. Behind them were the 2 Titan mortars. He put his Kadem Incarnates kind of far back, and then he had his 2 vassal slingshots in the ruins. And then to the right of the ruins are his Taruk Anointed with Inferno weapons and his Kadim Titan. So that is his deployment. And there we have it. So I actually dropped for first. My logic was, my objective, as you can see, was I basically hoped to pick up pick up or deny the middle two objectives. I figured if he wants to take his scoring unit and pick up this objective, he's so far to the right that he's going to waste several turns to actually come over and fight. And I hoped that I could wipe out his left while he was busy picking up the objective on the right. And I so that was my logic. Also, so here we go. I'm just gonna go through the battle. So first turn, I decided to play a little conservative. All I did was shuffle my flagellants to the right, on the far right, to protect my flank. I thought I thought for a good minute whether or not I should take my big heavy infantry block and push forwards and take the objective. Or I couldn't pick it up on the first turn. I looked at the distance and I realized I wouldn't be able to pick it up on turn two either. And if I pushed forwards, his Kadim mortars or his Titan mortars were going to be able to hit me. So I decided I'm just going to angle myself to be within a position so that on the following turn or any successive turns, I'd be able to push forward and pick up and contest that objective. So I left my heavy infantry in a position to contest the objective, but far enough back that his shooting won't really affect me. And I pushed, because we're 24 inches apart, my handgunners can't shoot anyway. So I just pushed up my handgunners to defend the wall so that his small arms fire wouldn't be any good against it. And then I just started to push up my left flank because he's pretty weak, right? His Taruk enforcers and his slaves and even his Citadel Guard, I'm not really that afraid. Like my flagellants are going to be able to handle them. And my prelate has some spells. I've got handgunners in the middle, but stuff isn't really going to be able to charge the handgunners without being charged first by my flagellants and heavy infantry. And my rockets were actually out of range. There wasn't really anything they could shoot worthwhile, so I actually just pushed them forwards. But I left the mortars where they were so that they could fire. And there you have it. All right, so magic. I got the card 5, and I was able to cast Stars Align on my handgunners because they did move. They're unwieldy, so they were only going to hit on 6s, but I put Stars Align on them. I was also trying to get Altered Sight on them, but he did dispel Altered Sight. And that was basically all I did in my first round of Magic. I'm trying to think if I tried to cast anything else. I didn't have a whole lot. Oh, I did cast a Fireball. All right, I casted a Fireball for spell from my Pyro Adept and took out 2 of his slaves. Then I cast Stars Align, and then I tried to cast Altered Sight as well on the unit, but he dispelled that one. So that was it. And shooting, I fired my mortars at his Citadel Guard. I had a misfire, so this one jammed. And the other mortar hit, but only took out 2 Citadel Guard. And then these handgunners shot, and they also didn't really do anything because they're only hitting on 6s with reroll. Alright, so that was it. Pretty disappointing first phase. I'm not confident I should have actually gone first, but I don't know. Let me know. It's hard to know what to do with handgunners, whether or not to go first. So he pushes forwards. I think these enforcers are scoring, so he's contesting this objective right from the get-go with them. And that's about it. You can see he's just kind of pushing up on his right. And there we have it. So his magic, he got the number 1 card. What was he casting? Oh, this is what he was casting. He cast the Twisted Effigy on my handgunner unit. I forget what spells I was stopping. He was trying to cast spells onto my prelate because he has alchemy. Even though I have a 3-up Aegis save, he had access to Silver Spike, I think, which I don't get a save again. Well, I do get the 4-up Aegis save against. So I let that spell through actually, but I saved the damage with the 4-up Aegis. But then he was able to get Twisted Effigy off. On them. So now I have -2 to cast with this, and this handgunner unit can't shoot the next turn. Right. Um, okay, and then he did shooting, and with his blunderbuss, he was able to put a wound on my prelate. And that was basically. Oh, and then his mortars. So, when I'm looking at his book, the mortars have a range of 30, but I didn't realize because the rules are real twisted and convoluted in the Inferno Dwarves book. Um, that is only the range of the weapon teams for the mortars, and you have to look at the entry. And because of base plate, when you actually take it as an artillery weapon, they actually get +6 range. So his mortars had 36-inch range. I thought my parent unit, my legions, were safe, but they were not. So he fired his mortars, and he was able to take out 11 heavy infantry on turn 1 with his mortars. All right. So on my turn, my flagellants charge his Taruk because I don't want them shooting at my prelate. I don't want them picking up the objective, and in combat, I know I'm going to basically wreck them. So I charged. I was not able to catch them, but at least that pushed them away from the objective and prevented them from shooting on the following turn. What else did I do? Okay, I did a lot of moves. I decided it was time because of his mortars. Since I couldn't stay out of range of his mortars, I decided I needed to push up and grab that objective. So I pushed my heavy infantry up so that on turn 3 I'd be able to pick up the objective. I wheeled my flagellants out just to protect the flank so that nothing was going to be able to outflank my heavy infantry while they secured the objective. I also maneuvered my arcane engine in a way that if he did try to approach my flagellants and this right flank, I would be able to cast some spells because I do have Fate's Judgment and Unerring Strike on the engine, and I'm hoping that's gonna be pretty good against both the Taruk Anointed and the Condemned Titan. So there you have that. These spears on the left are just coming up to basically pick up the objective after the flagellants clear anything that's in their way. And then because my handgunners can't shoot, I just move them up so that they can pressure anything that's gonna try to approach my lines. All right, Magic Phase, I got the 2 card, and because my prelate had a wound, I didn't tell you earlier, but the spell that I had access to, I had to roll a d10 and randomize it. He actually has occultism. He has Pentagram of Pain. Interesting to play an Empire list with Pentagram of Pain. I actually cast Pentagram of Pain on these slaves, and then I sacrificed some spears. I did 3 wounds with Pentagram of Pain to the slaves, and that was enabled me to heal that 1 wound that was dealt to my prelate. So my prelate is back at full health thanks to occultism and sacrificing Empire spears. Your lives were worth it. All right, and looks like that was really all I got off. Um, Shooting. I fired handgunners into these slaves, believe, and rockets were only able to do 1 wound to his mortars. I was really trying to fire my rockets and take out his mortars, but they just were not doing the job. His turn. He couldn't charge me because my flagellants are too far away. So on his right, he pushed up these 2 units to pressure me. I do want to mention, I think he misunderstood the objective at first because he pushed up his Citadel Guard here, so they were within 6 of the objective, but you have to pick up the objective. It's not the objective where you just have to be within 6. So that was, I think, a mistake on his part. They're basically just going to sit there the whole game behind this and impassable. I'm not really sure his logic on that. Other than that, he did rally his enforcers and move them back onto the hill, and then he just pushed forwards to pressure my center. Spell wise, I do apologize. I don't always remember the spells that get off. Spell wise though, he did get a flaming spell off. And then I think this is the turn with shooting. I didn't measure. I forgot that his vassal slingshots have range 48. and my prelate was just barely, I was like 47 inches away. I very easily could have moved my prelate in a way where it would have been out of range of his slingshots, but I didn't. So his between the two slingshots, I failed Aegis saves, and he did 3 wounds to me, and I only have 5 wounds total. So that was a mistake from my part. I need to be a little bit better about measuring opponents' ranges. Then on to my turn. Let's see. Shooting. He did shoot and started tearing up my handgunners. He didn't like what they were doing. He did misfire in his mortar though, and his other mortar, I think, missed me. So there you have it. On my turn, these flagellants on the right charged him, and he decided to flee. I don't really know his logic. Well, I guess he hadn't picked up the objective yet. He was in position to pick it up. In my mind, I think I failed my frenzy, so I had to charge him. I wasn't confident that was a great battle for me, but whatever. I guess he didn't like it, so he fled with them, which means my flagellants are basically preventing him from picking up this objective. Because this is turn 3 already. And on the left, these flagellants also charged his Taruk again, and they fled, and I was still unable to catch them. But at least I'm basically preventing him from picking up the other 2 objectives, and I have the middle objective secured. So, alright. Remaining moves, I now pull these heavy infantry backwards because I want to back away, right? My plan was just to pick up the objective and back away. I've got ranged covering me, so I feel like I'm in a pretty good position at this point. I move this Arcane Engine up so that I'm going to be able to target his stuff with spells. And then I have to pull my prelate back because I don't want his slingshots to be able to shoot me. Alright. At this point, I'm not able to issue orders on my handgunners. That is one issue with this list. I can't issue orders unless I stay within 8 inches of the BSB. But anyway, all right, and to magic. I did get, I think it was Unerring Strike off onto his Titan, but I only did 1 wound with that. And I don't remember right now. But that was the main spell that I got off. Alright, now his turn. He did so many things. He did rally his Taruk. Alright, so on the right, he rallied his Taruk. I'm not sure why he didn't charge with his Titan. In my mind, charging the Titan into my Flagellants would have been a good move for him. But he didn't. He just moved him over here. So he moved the Titan onto my flank. Which means that, I mean, if he gets a Titan on my flank of my Flagellants, that's actually a really good fight for him. If he charges the Titan into the front of my Flagellants, it's kind of hit or miss. I guess probably that was maybe the wiser move for him. Anyway, he moves up and chaffs my Flagellants with his slaves. He did rally his Taruk again. And then this is on magic phase. He actually was able to get Raven's Wing off, and he moved to Citadel Guard from the middle to here, right behind my heavy infantry. So he Raven Winged the Citadel Guard. You're probably asking yourself, or want to ask me why I let him get Raven's Wing off. I stopped Twisted Effigy. I know the marker's there, but I did stop Twisted Effigy on this handgunner unit. Um, so my choices were basically let Twisted Effigy through and stop Raven's Wing, or stop Twisted Effigy and let Raven's Wing through. In this moment, it probably would have been better to let Twisted Effigy through, but I don't know. That's a really tough call to make. And so I made the call to stop Twisted Effigy. So anyway, he Raven's Wing, which now means his Citadel Guard are behind my parent unit, threatening the flanks of my small arms fire and my artillery. And it's starting to look like he's in a pretty good position. Um, and I'm getting kind of nervous at this point. He also was able to get Word of Iron off onto his Citadel Guard, so I let that one through because I realized there was really no shooting I was going to do to it, so there was no point to stopping Word of Iron. I still wanted to stop. I think I wanted to stop this curse spell, his hereditary, but he still got that one off. And then he did shooting. With his shooting, he killed my rocket. Um, and I think that caused this rocket to be shaken because yeah, I failed my discipline test. Um, let's see. That looks like it for shooting. What did his other mortars hit? Okay, my turn. On the right, I was able with because I had guiding light on my flagellants. I succeeded in passing my frenzy check, which was great because what I wanted to do, I reformed my flagellants. So now his Titan and his Taruk are in my front. And this way, I was hoping I'd be able to cast spells on the Titan and fire the rocket or mortars at it and have a chance at. Well, I guess the rocket can't fire this turn, it's taken. But anyway, I have a mortar and I have spells. I'm hoping I can at least wound or even have a chance at killing the Titan. But anyway, he's at least in my front, and that's a better combat for me than him on my flank. These flagellants charge the slaves. I didn't really see a downside to it, so I just pushed them in. I move my spears up so that they're picking up the objective. I shuffle my prelate over so that he is out of range and starting to get behind the hill so that he really can't target me. The downside was I think I moved him just barely too far away from my handgunners, so my handgunners are more than 18 inches away. I should have kept my prelate just kind of back in this corner, and I didn't. But there you have it. I thought also for a good while about charging my heavy infantry. He actually left his flank exposed. I could have charged into the flank of these Kadim incarnates with them, but if I do that, this parent unit is now would be more than 8 inches away from the handgunners, and I didn't want that. So I didn't charge at all. I just sat here with them basically. Then in magic phase, I did get either Unerring Strike or Fate's Judgment off, and I did 3 wounds to his Kadim Titan. He's got 7 wounds total, but that helped a lot. And then I put Guiding Light on the handgunners because I knew he was going to charge me in the flank. But because of parent and support unit synergy, I actually felt pretty good about that with Guiding Light, and they're within range of the BSB. All right. Then in shooting, with all my handgunner shots, I only managed to kill a single Kadim Incarnate, which is 3 wounds, but at least they got whittled down a little bit. Again, let's see, did the mortar hit anything? I don't think so. Mortars were not really hitting much. In close combat, my flagellants on the left by the hill just absolutely massacred the slaves. And because I killed them outright, because I did 17 wounds and he only had 17 models in there. You can see my rule here, my rule to wound. I was able to just reform. So I reformed this way. That way I'm pressuring the middle. I felt that if he moved his Taruk up onto the hill, my spears are guarding this flank. So he can't just swing around the flank. So I felt that was a pretty good position for them. Um, yeah. So on his turn, several things. He charges his Citadel Guard into my handgunners. He charges his Titan into my flagellants on the right. He charges his Taruk anointed into the flagellants, but they failed their charge roll. They only rolled with Swift Stride. I think they rolled 2 2s and a 3, and he needed like 7 or 8. So he failed his charge roll, which was really good for me because his Titan only has 3 wounds left. So that was like my first like big lucky roll of the game, I think, though it was a roll he made. And I had to leave my parent unit here because oh no, this is his turn, right? So we charged a Titan in. He moved his Taruk up on the hill to threaten the objective and my prelate. Remember, blunderbusses have they're only range 12, but they're strength 5, AP 3. So he has a fairly good chance at killing my prelate with them. He charges his incarnates into my handgunners here, and that was a decision. I stood and shoot, and I'm not 100% certain if I should have fled or not. Because if I flee with them, then the incarnates could have charged into the other handgunner unit. So I decided to stand and shoot. I mean, I have 13 shots there. I thought maybe I could kill an incarnate just on the shooting attacks, and then he just has a single incarnate in combat. I'm gonna be steadfast. I thought that was decent. So, but I didn't do any wounds to him. He saved them all. So there you have it. Magic phase. What did he do? Okay, he put Word of Iron on his Titan. The Titan has armor 2, so with Word of Iron it went either to armor 3 or armor 4. I don't remember if he boosted it. He also cast Corruption of Tin on my prelate, giving him -1 or -1 armor. My prelate does have an armor of 4, but now after this spell he only has an armor of 3. I just wasn't able to stop it. My dispel attempts were not great in this round. So and then he did shooting. His mortar just wrecked. Yeah, his mortar just wrecked. Like his mortar killed somehow like another 20 heavy infantry. So that was disappointing. I did not know that condemned mortars could do this, but anyway, condemned mortars are amazing. He also took them with the upgrade, which gives them they made him strength 4. So yeah, they're range 36 and they're strength 4, AP 1, and they have flaming attacks. And with Vassal Slingshot, he's able to put oil on to enemy units, which gives him makes me flammable, which means that his mortars get rerolled to wound, or at least that's how we were playing it. So those things are no joke. Um, so anyway, I'm just sitting there, and close combat actually went pretty well. So starting on the right, my flagellants were able to kill the Titan. I was able to do exactly 3 wounds, which is what I needed to kill it. Um, then my handgunners held because I was steadfast, minimized discipline 7 with rerollable from the BSB, so they held. And then I was able to reform because I get to use the same amount of ranks as my parent unit for the reform and for steadfast. So I reformed to face him. That way he at least wasn't on my flank anymore. His incarnates, I was only able to do 1 wound to him, but then I broke, and I only rolled like I only went 3 inches. I rolled a 2 and a 1, but he did not pursue because he wanted to contest this objective and my prelate. Um, because his blunderbusses had done an additional wound to my prelate. My prelate only has 1 wound left. As I said at the beginning of the battle, if you kill this prelate, he's worth 1,065. Yeah. So I was really nervous at this point. I needed to save my prelate at all costs because if you killed him, that's a huge point swing. So I fled with them, but he didn't pursue. And then it's on to my turn. What do I do? So my starting on the left, my spears charged his Taruk anointed. He held. I was hoping he would stand and shoot because if he was going to stand and shoot, I was considering charging my prelate in because the prelate on the battle altar does have D6 strength 5 impact hits, and I was hoping with that combined with the rank bonus of the spears, I would be able to break and kill the Taruk. but then I realized that would leave my prelate exposed on top of the hill, and then his artillery would just be able to take him out. So because of that, I just left the prelate. I moved him behind the hill, and I just put the spears in. I thought because I had ranks and I'm within range of the general, I would at least be able to hold and hopefully hold that objective. My okay, next on the left here by the hill, my flagellants charged his slaves. His slaves fled, and they fled all the way through the impassable and all the way over here. They suffered a ton of wounds on the impassable. Probably what I should have done instead was just march them 8. That would have pushed them right up to here, and then I would have really just threatened his whole middle. So that's what I should have done. That was actually a mistake to charge. I didn't have to charge, and I did. So yeah. Um, what else? I charge. No, I didn't charge. My flagellants over here did not charge. I actually just moved up on top of the objective. This way it made it so that oh, I know why I didn't charge. Oh, he wouldn't be able to charge me anyway. All right. I didn't charge my flagellants on the right because I thought if I charge his Taruk anointed in the front, that leaves my flank exposed, and he can then flank charge me with his Citadel Guard. I forgot that this was impassable, and his Citadel Guard would not have been able to charge me at all because they're blocked by the impassable. So maybe I should have charged him. But anyway, I didn't. I just moved up on top of the objective so that the only way he was going to be able to get this objective was by engaging and fighting the flagellants. So now I'm feeling really good because I'm still denying this objective on the right, and I now hold the other 2 objective markers. Over here, was able to rally my handgun unit with the wizard and face them this way. I turned my engine around facing this way. You're probably wondering where's Kadem Incarnates went. I was able to cast between Fate's. It was Fate's Judgment. I got Fate's Judgment off from Arcane Engine, and it just annihilated the Kadem Incarnates. So that removed that threat. So I'm feeling pretty good because now the only thing that can kill my prelate is if the Tarukan forces are able to break my spears. So I took care of the Academic Carnets. I turned my engine around both so that I could cast spells at the Academic Carnets and so that I would have a rear charge set up against the Citadel Guard. I have to keep my parent unit here. I don't know why I didn't move them backwards. I could have moved them backwards at that point. I probably just forgot to. I was just so much trying to keep track of so much in the battle. All right. Um, he actually is able to whittle me down to only having one complete rank of 5, which was lucky that I still had 5 guys, because as long as I have a full rank, I can still count the steadfast bonus of the parent unit. So that was a really close call. I held this turn again. Spears actually did some work. I killed 4 Taruk anointed, or Taruk enforcers over here. Excuse me. So that was good. Although I think I still lost combat because you can see he killed a bunch of guys still. So, but now he's only down to 3 enforcers. And then I also cast Altered Sight on his enforcers to minimize his offensive. So, his turn. What does he do? He, let's see. He moves his Citadel Guard back, so I'm not exactly sure why. I think he wanted to shoot at my flagellants. This is showing Magic Phase. Magic Phase, he was able to get Flaming Swords off on his Vassal Conjurer here, and he casted the boosted version, so that was everything within 6 inches. And then he cast Raven's Wing on the Anointed, and yeah, he got that off too. I was trying to stop combat buffs, but he actually got like every spell off. He got off Word of Iron, he got off Flaming Swords, and he got off Raven's Wing. Um, and I, he, it was a really close call, whether or not he could actually he cast the regular version, which is only move 7 inches. I think realistically he couldn't actually get a full inch behind my flagellants, therefore he couldn't actually move there. It was a really close call whether or not it was point 0.9 or a full inch. I just let him have it because it was just really close, and I didn't think it was worth. I mean, it probably was worth disputing because his unit being back here is now a big problem for me. But it was such a close call. I just wanted to be a friendly player and not cause an argument, so I just let him have that. Anyway, um, his shooting again. His mortar hit me again, and now my parent unit only has 11 guys in it. So I'm now pretty scared because at this point, if he charges his vassal levies into me, I'm pretty confident that I'm not going to be able to hold, and he's going to be able to pick up this objective, which at the very least um, denies. It means we would tie an objective. So that's what I'm afraid of at this point. Um, yeah, and that's basically that's all his shooting does. So, oh, and then he just kills some flagellants from his shooting with the Citadel Guard. All right, close combat. I managed to kill one of his guys, and he kills 3 of mine. I hold again. Um, I'm trying to think how I held. I rolled. Well, I had minimized discipline because he only killed 3 guys of mine, and I killed one of his. You can see my roll here. So, he only won by 2, and then I minimized discipline because of Guiding Light, and I rolled a minimize, so it's 5. So I passed. He very easily could have just wiped me out, and he didn't. All right, so then on my turn, I charge my Arcane Engine into the rear of him, and I realize this is a risky play because he's probably going to be steadfast. He's got 4 models in the back. If I need to kill 5 models to break his steadfast, and if I don't break his steadfast, he then can charge me in the rear with these guys, and it's going to be a lot of points for him. But I decided to do it anyway because his general is in this unit, and I thought I had a good chance. I don't know what the chances are, but I thought I had a chance at um, killing enough to be able to break him and run him down. So I charged. All right. And then I basically just keep these guys here. I reformed these guys so that I could provide a clear line of sight for this mortar. In the magic phase, I was able to get altered sight off onto the mortar so that I can hit. I have 1+ to aim to hit. And I actually was also able to get perception of strength off onto my spears. So that was nice. In close combat, um, with the spears here, this was insane. He beat me by 7. He beat me by 7 because I didn't do any wounds to him. He killed 6, and then he has a banner. He beat me by 7. My general's discipline 9, which means I needed to roll snake eyes, double ones to stay. I rolled double ones to stay. And that was crazy. I was just so high on adrenaline. I couldn't believe it. My spears held. If I did not roll those double ones, I would have broken. He either he really probably should have at that point if I had broken, he either could have pursued and charged into my prelate, um, at which point my prelate's probably going to be dead, and at which point he would be touching the marker so that on his turn he'd be able to pick up the marker and secure the objective. So this was just a massive, huge roll, and I couldn't believe I made it. I was in a very precarious position there after he killed 6 spearmen. All right, next combat though. My arcane engine, I only killed, I think, like 2 guys. Yeah, I killed 2 of his guys. He tried attacking me, but I was able to make my saves, or I think he didn't even like wound me. Anyway, he didn't do any wounds to me. He then did some attacks in the front. He did kill off my handgunners, but because I charged him in the rear, I had +2 to combat res. So I won by 2. He had to take a break test. His general's discipline 9 or 10, and he rolled an 11. So, I was able to pursue and run him down, which then moved my engine pretty far away from his Taruk anointed here. So that was just two dice rolls that were I couldn't believe what had happened. I really shouldn't. I should have been in a really bad shape at this point. He charged. Um, he needed a 12, and I don't know why he's there. Anyway, um, oh no, he Ravens won though. I don't think he. Yeah, he charged and he failed, so he ended up here because he needed a 12. Then on his magic phase, he did Raven's Wing and dealt some wounds to them. He shot them with the bows, and I think he shot the mortar at it. And this is the last good roll. After the mortar, after the Raven's Wing wounds and the mortar wounds, I only had 3 swordsmen left in the unit. He shot his 9 bows at me. He did 3 wounds with 0 AP. I needed to roll I have a 5-up armor save. I rolled a 1 and 2 6s. I only had 3 guys left, so it was very possible for me to fail all my armor saves. And then he would have just killed my whole parent unit, and then I would have lost objective, because he also killed all my spearmen, so I lost objective here. This is my last objective. I have 2 swordsmen alive holding objective. And that wrapped up the game, basically. So it actually ended up being a 17-3 win. There were just the last turn and a half, so much happened. I could not believe it. It was one of the most epic ninth age games I've ever played. It was a very long game. Aaron, he's from Chile and he did not really speak English, so we were actually using a translator. He had some friends that were helping translate between Spanish and English. I was trying to also translate and try to remember my high school Spanish, and it took a very long time. It was a fun, epic game, um, and I wish the best of luck to Aaron and his future games. I really did not deserve this. I probably should have ended up with like a 9 to 11, or maybe even worse than that. But that's the way the dice are. So thank you for watching this. This was round 1 of the team tournament, and I look forward to sharing the rest of my games with you. So take care. I hope that you are also enjoying games and having a lovely 2021.